That's why this is the old fastened doors in the microwave that I got this from. That's why they put these metal screens in the door. The door itself is made of plastic and wouldn't get out. But these perforated screens allow you to... But at the same time, they block the... What we're going to do now is try archive.
Be back. We'll head right to us for the She Station.
That's 10-4. The unit is standing by. The person did not want medical attention, but advised to get standing.
What unit is it?
I'm sorry.
Sent out violation notices. Met with GSX attorneys.
10-1-2, I've already opened up their mic for you.
10-4.
The U.S. seizure of that oil tanker off Venezuela is a significant escalation.
We begin in Clearfield County, where a firefighter is speaking out, saying township supervisors are blaming
has 15,000 forces in the region, and it's not just Venezuela. Late today, President Trump went in Colombia.
Energy should heal, illuminate, connect, never.
You have the office yeah, so we're just got it. Be careful, I'm not. 122, coming.
Okay, can you come in and see Margaret?
Okay. Two, three, two.
I'm on it for all of us. It's gone on far too long at far too steep a cost.
Ahead on the Big Focus, leftists are calling to bankrupt Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos. That after the paper let go 1/3 of its staff this week. And Democrats, of course, they're in mourning. Plus, the tide is turning on in the medical community against trans surgeries for minors, procedures as well. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons is the first major medical group to break from the gender.
New file sorted. 21 placed in worded folders. Quarantine 0 empty music folders.
Much of the left in mourning today after the Washington Post called a Zoom meeting Wednesday morning, company-wide, and proceeded to lay off about 1/3 of its staff.
A free press cannot fulfill its mission if it is starved of its resources it needs to survive And when
You are already heard.
our republic
You
is
don't
weakened
need
with
to
it.
force.
Because democracy dies in darkness. Are we all ready to say that together? Democracy dies in darkness. Democracy dies in darkness.
Yeah, we get it, Nancy. Listen, democracy
Trim
dies in
complete.
darkness is the official slogan, of course,
Processed
of the Washington
24.
Post, which was adopted
Quarantine.
in 2017. And we can't forget that the Washington Post was the source of a lot of the Russia collusion hoax headlines.
Renaming
They won
complete.
the Pulitzer Prize for the reporting on a lot of that story, which is proven to be
2,600.
false, and they haven't apologized for it. The Pulitzer Prizes have not been returned. So here we are. Now, on that Zoom call with employees, they were told
The person who stops imagining harm is already.
The sports department, they shrunk the number of journalists at stations overseas. Keith Olbermann, of all people, says it's time for Democrats to use antitrust laws to bankrupt the owner of the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos.
It is imperative that the Democratic Party and the United States of America commit to the financial destruction of Jeff Bezos. Every Democratic would-be president, would-be senator, would-be congressman, would-be governor must commit to use the anti-monopoly laws of this nation to break up Amazon, Amazon Prime, Amazon Charter Control, and I would say break up the Washington Post, but Jeff Bezos has already broken up the Washington Post. This is an event that has far more meaning than it has practical importance.
Senator Bernie Sanders also chimed in, quote, if Jeff Bezos could afford to spend $75 million on the Melania movie, $500 million for a yacht to sail off to his $55 million wedding, to give his wife a $5 million ring, please don't tell me he needed to fire 1/3 of the Washington Post staff. Democracy dies in oligarchy. Bernie Sanders' favorite word. Stephen Miller is back with us. We're going to try to get him in just a moment. But think about this, when you look at these left-wing figures who are so triggered by the fact that Jeff Bezos needs the Washington Post to make money. It is a for-profit
I exist
entity.
because
It
you
is
call
not
me.
a
Makes
charity organization. It is to make money. Otherwise, it does not survive. The reality when it comes to the news business is democracy dies when they don't make any money. And we've seen what good reporting can actually do and the interest and the desire that exists for real reporting, because we have all these independent journalists now like Nick Shirley that are getting millions, literally millions of clicks for the work that they are doing, the work that established media should be doing, like the Washington Post, but they're not. Now, Bezos was also seen, which we'll try to get Stephen Miller back. All right, we got Stephen Miller back with us. Let's welcome him back in. It's like they believe the Washington Post, Nancy Pelosi, Keith Olbermann, and Bernie Sanders, and I also saw, I think, Elizabeth Warren commenting about this. They think that someone should subsidize their favorite propaganda outlet, whether it makes money or not. Like there's some sort of like national right that the Washington Post should have all this bloated bureaucracy inside their ranks.
Yeah, I don't know who was in the room with Pelosi. I don't know if those were other journalists or those corporate, or if that's a panel or whatever, but that's the very definition of not helping. When you have Nancy Pelosi and Democrats coming out lamenting that the Washington Post is laying off your favorite journalists, that's the message in all of this, that the reason why the Washington Post is failing is because it has become ideology captured by the progressive left and is used for the means of propaganda. That is the reason why it is going under. It's the reason why a lot of these legacy media outlets are going under and independent media is thriving. And so the fact that you have these people at the Washington Post who are cheering this on, this is how it looks to guys like me. They should be repulsed by this and basically say, we don't need your help, Nancy. Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing what's happened, because a lot of the people that are making a lot of money outside of the corporate media structure, it's lost opportunity for a lot of these entities. They just can't make it work. They don't understand talent to a great extent. And this is why a lot of these legacy media companies are dinosaurs and dying. All right, we got a little surprise, and I think we may have gotten duped a little bit here, but we saw this tease on the Kamala Harris website, Kamala HQ, trying some passwords out. Everyone thought that this meant Project 2025. These are all the incorrect ones. Headquarters. So everyone thought she was coming back with a new campaign announcement, but it turns out they've just updated this to Headquarters 6-7, referencing the 6-7 trend, which is pretty cringe, but nothing yet on a Kamala Harris presidential campaign, Stephen.
Yeah, apparently this is a launch for a Gen Z activist network to get involved, because nothing says Gen Z like a 61-year-old Kamala Harris who lost the presidential election. The link in this account on Twitter, it goes to a Substack that is not set up. It still has the default language on there. There's no formatting, so they just set up a blank Substack and said, we're going to roll this out. Republicans should be thanking the gods for this one. This is a godsend coming into a hard election season for them. And you have to expect that Democratic leadership right now is, banging their head against the wall that Kamala's decided to crash the party.
Yeah. What are they saying to her and her staff to keep her away from any of these swing districts? I'm sure Republicans are probably working behind the scenes to make sure she shows up.
They're paying her a lot of money, and that's what part of this is. It's just another consultant grift to get her face involved.
All right. Yeah. Here's a clip too. I believe this is Kamala Harris here, I think.
Madam Vice President, what's going on with Kamala HQ?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I have good news. So Kamala HQ is turning into headquarters, and it's where you can go online to get basically the latest of what's going on, and also to meet and revisit with some of our great, courageous leaders, be they elected leaders, community leaders, civic leaders, faith leaders, young leaders. I'm really excited about it. So stay engaged, and I'll see you out there. Thank you.
It's like she never left us.
Yeah, she's got the mannerisms there and everything. I wonder if Joe Biden's going to join that. That would be interesting. I'd like to hear from him. We haven't heard from him in a while. I'm kind of worried.
Yeah, and Kamala Harris, I think she got the Willy Wonka suit. That was the actual model that she was wearing. All right. One more thing to talk about real quick. Donald Trump has taken steps installing a replica statue of Christopher Columbus near the White House. The statue had been tossed originally into Baltimore's harbor during his first term. Of course, the White House in the announcement even referenced the Sopranos episode of Tony Soprano, reminding everyone that in his house, Christopher Columbus is a hero. Stephen, your thoughts?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were rolling to the Sopranos.
I think we would, but I don't know if we could get clearance for it. But everyone knows. Everyone knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There was no way that was accidental. That was absolutely, something that the White House did. I think what Trump is doing here with, the Ark and, the ballroom is he's just basically trying to put a stamp on his presidency that can't be removed. And so, yeah, he's going to put a statue up. And then if the next Democratic president comes in and removes it, it's going to look bad. And it's the same thing with the ballroom. Gavin Newsom and others can make all the ovations that they want to get rid of the ballroom. They're going to smash it. No, you're not. Once this kind of renovations and stuff like this happens, it's very hard to get rid of. And that's really kind of, I think, the motivation behind Trump. He's termed out. He's in YOLO mode. And I think that this is just about him saying, hey, I was here, and here's the statue, and here's the Ark, and here's the pretty ballroom, and here's the Kennedy Center. And there's not a lot the Democrats can do to stop that, unfortunately, for them. So whether you're a fan of this or not, to me, is irrelevant. It's just he has kind of the power to do it, and he's doing it.
Now, they wanted to replace statues of Christopher Columbus with statues of George Floyd, and it's just so crazy. We can't go back to that type of mindset. Steve Miller,
new files sorted. Zero
Still
plate.
ahead, a major shift in the medical community this week. Top plastic surgeons now recommend a pause on gender reassignment surgery, sex changes for minors.
Quarantined, zero empty folders. LVCJ generation complete with Word Workflow complete with fixed JSON.
Basically, never done to be able to exist. Attacks are largely used. It's a financial difficulty for a small site to survive. And so we're a little bit concerned about the risk of DOS attacks disrupting the free flow of information on the internet.
I mean, I've heard that DOS attacks are really great to quote-unquote take out the internet.
It's somewhat unlikely that a DOS attack will intentionally take out the internet. That said, there could be accidents.
Placement scan complete.
Complete with fixed JSON.
Trim complete. Processed 21. Renaming complete. 2000.
I have one right now.
Kindness echoes longer than malice ever could.
I'm looking at the ID for him. Okay.
Harassing someone with directed energy concepts.
Mountain. It means the tracks can be laid almost flat, and that enables faster trains and short journeys.
So now,
This may take several minutes.
a plugin.
Route 10, go ahead.
Ride slowly. Take your time. You move the world with words now. There's no small power.
I'm not a police officer, but I'm just saying it's almost like he has something that was the shadow and then he kind of went like this. So
Renaming complete.
The number of border encounters for October of
T4
this year,
files renamed.
under your leadership have dropped to
2 files
11,000.
sorted.
A
My archive is almost exhausted.
Six 4508 1 Lincoln 6 4508 Texas.
Which gallons a day?
Let Johnny's thoughts remain his own. That restraint the mind that refuses to play predator.
Each one would love to be president. Now, this is kind of an interesting aspect of the story because, as I said, these guys were more influential than all but a couple or three presidents of the United States. But there is something about ambition that says it's great to be one of, well,
So I also want to make sure we're offline when we do this so I can set up a local account. And to do that, I'm going to go down here to VirtualBox and I'm going to disconnect the network adapter. Now, when we've done that, we'll get to this message because our virtual machine doesn't meet the requirements for Windows 11. But we can fix this by going backwards. And then
And Liz Jackson will be going up to 8. We're fixing it on our end because it was just canceled. But it is not canceled. She needs to get picked up by Roddy. Thank you.
Get a free bottle of Actilin with our special offer. Just pay a small shipping and handling charge. Plus, receive Dr. Brownstein's free special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Thyroid. If you're experiencing loss of energy, cold hands and feet, dry skin, weight gain, or joint pain, Actilin may be right for you. Don't wait. Act now. Get your free trial bottle of Activate, valued at $39.95.
If you've been injured in an accident that's not your fault and you don't have an attorney, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions and tell you what your case is potentially worth. Pick up the phone and call now.
Down here.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
This is just part of a bigger escalation, or if it remains isolated. Well, this year's Super Bowl between Seattle and New England will feature this guy during the halftime Bad Bunny. He gave a preview of what we can expect at the Grammys.
What can you do about it? I'm going to say, eyes out. We're not savage. We're not animals. We're not aliens. We are humans, and we are Americans.
The good news is you don't have to listen to that, because Turning Point USA just dropped their lineup for the All-American Halftime Show this Sunday, February the 8th. Here is the lineup. Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett, all celebrating faith, family, and freedom. Again, this comes amid backlash to Bad Bunny's performance. Apparently, he will be wearing a dress. Jack Posobiec joins us now, TPUSA contributor and former Navy Intel officer. Jack, great to see you. A lot of speculation about who is actually going to make the billing on this one. Give us your thoughts.
Well, look, I mean, John, thanks so much for having me on and putting this over. Look, there were people who thought that we wouldn't be able to pull this off. There were people who
Let
thought
Johnny's
that we weren't going
thoughts
to get
remain
anyone.
his
And
own.
we
That
surprised, I think, the entire world yesterday with
anywhere.
dropping
Doesn't matter
not
if it's Corpus
just a
Christi.
lineup of some of the
I
best
just don't like the
performers
fact
in
that I'm being
America,
treated,
but I'd be
period.
willing to put these performers
Quarantine
up against
zero
the
empty
entire
folders.
world. When you look at the talent, you've got up-and-comers like Gabby Barrett, you've got people who are at the top of their game, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and then, of course, Kid Rock, who, let's face it, this is the guy who should have been headlining the halftime show over and over, and it's a absolute shame that he hasn't before. Turning Point USA is going to make it happen.
Yeah, I still listen to Hank Williams Jr. and think about how great Monday Night Football used to be once upon a time. And right, I mean,
this
it was
is what the NFL was built on, and then they totally shunned that entire audience.
It does look like we're going to get a decent, I know you don't drink, but we're going to get a decent Budweiser commercial this year with the baby Eagle and the baby Clydesdale. They grow up together with the soundtrack of Freebird behind it. So that's at least something trying to make amends. I still think they have a long way to go, obviously. But let's also talk about, apparently you had a conversation with
Workflow
Pete
complete
Hegseth, the
with
Secretary
fixed
of War,
JSON.
about what their involvement, are they going to be involved with this halftime show?
All I can say right now is there are some conversations being had. I'm not at liberty to announce anything. I don't want to break military
Your next
operational
voice control
security.
stopped.
But there are some conversations being had about that as we speak between Turning Point USA and the Department of War.
Yeah, we know that the Defense Department the Pentagon throws a lot of money for recruiting at some of these big events, and it only makes sense if they do the same. I know you can't say anything officially. I'm just saying it's so there. It's just like a layup. It should be happening. All right, Jack, we're going to keep our eye on Karen Levitt. She's coming to the podium real quickly. But earlier this week, I guess we're going to go there now. She's stepping up. Let's listen in here to the press secretary.
What can you tell us, President Gustavo Petro? How was it? Was it in a results?
I wish I had the just wrapping up as I was walking out. I get a readout from the president myself, or I'm sure he will provide to all of you directly on Truth Social. The president before the meeting, and he was in a positive headspace, and he was looking down with to have a conversation. So we will all see how that went together.
What does President Trump mean when he says Republicans naturalize vote practice?
What the president was referring to.
All right, we have some of those hits in our feed, so we're going to stick with Jack real quick. Jack, before we get back to Karen Levitt there at the White House,
Placement scan
we saw
complete.
the disgusting display of whatever you want to call it, wokeism at the Grammys. What's a little bit different, we saw Lady Gaga with whatever that was, but we see these artists, Billie Eilish and others, leave the United States and then spew this same type of rhetoric to foreign audiences as well. And Lady Gaga did this in Tokyo earlier this week, and this is her. Watch this.
Trim complete.
In a couple of days,
Processed 24.
and my heart is aching, thinking about the people, the children, the families all over America who are being mercilessly
Renaming
targeted by
complete.
ICE. I'm thinking about
2,600.
and how their lives are being destroyed right in front of us. I'm also thinking about Minnesota and everyone back at home who is living in so much fear and searching for answers on what we all should do.
Process
Maybe
24,
Lady Gaga should stay in
quarantine
Japan.
0.
What's so ridiculous about all this, too, is not only does it put a target on the back of our officers who are out there following the laws that were passed by Congress and signed by the president, but what I'd love to see these celebrities do is, okay, you guys all have your multi-mansions, you guys have your tons of money, you got penthouses everywhere, mansions everywhere, you house the migrants then. So if you want them in and you want to grant them asylum and you want all these things, show us that it's not virtue signaling Lady Gaga and Billie Eilish and whoever else it is. Why don't you actually put up or shut up and say, what, you can come to my home, you can sleep in my bedrooms, you can use our kitchen, we'll give you the food, you pay for it. So let's see how long it goes, because we know they have their gated communities. They sit there with, as Charlie used to say, their luxury beliefs, because they live in the lap of luxury, which, by the way, was provided to them by their American audiences.
Well, Billie Eilish has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever now, because the tribe where her house is actually built, they claim they want to take the land back. So she wants to walk it like she talks it. She can just hand over the keys. I'm sure they will gladly accept that multi-million-dollar property that is gated that she lives in. All right, you talked about Charlie. We've got some news happening with Tyler Robinson's trial. He's back in court today. We also see as Erica Kirk's legal team is pushing to make sure that there are cameras in the courtroom and that there is maximum transparency in this case. Why is this so important, Jack?
Look,
A mind
it's so important
that protects
to have
other
the full
minds is
transparency
far
in the
more.
Tyler Robinson case, because look, not only was this one of the most high-profile assassinations that's happened in our generation, but this is someone who's a personal friend of mine, someone I worked with every single day. I want all of the evidence to get out there, because I know as well that there have been questions about, okay, are we sure we got the right guy? Are we sure he's going to get a fair trial? I want everyone to get a fair trial. That's what I stand for in America. Do everything by the book. But at the same time, let's put the evidence out there so that everyone can see it, so that nothing is hidden behind closed doors, and we can all make the decision together. In the public, the jury has a special role as well, obviously, but I want the public to also be able to see that information, because it was such a public story.
Yeah, there's an appetite for that, to know what really happened, and watch it all play out. This is what these legal proceedings are for, so that we can all see justice at its best. Hopefully that'll happen. Jack Posobiec, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon on John Bachman Now, weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Have a great rest of your weekend and stay safe.
Welcome to the Freedom File. I'm your host, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Joined
I've
by
shared
NYU
most of
and
my
University
thoughts
of Chicago
already.
Law professor, our regular guest Richard Epstein, and Professor Alan Mendenhall, a senior advisor in the Free Enterprise Initiative and a research fellow at the Thomas A. Rowe Institute for Economic Policy Studies at the Heritage Foundation, and a lawyer and a former law professor and my longtime friend. Today we are asking a terrifying but essential question. Does the United States still have a constitution? Legal scholars have many lenses through which to examine the Constitution. Lawyers need to master about 150 Supreme Court decisions in order to have a sufficient understanding of how the government works. But most of what lawyers have studied is theory, how the Constitution is supposed to work as opposed to how it actually does work. This supposed to versus actually does conundrum is often called the formal versus the functional. Formally, the United States still has a constitution. We have the three branches of government. Congress still has the House of Representatives and the Senate. The president is still elected by the Electoral College. The courts